everyone, I'm Whitney and I'm back today with another Sew Your Stash update. And if you don't know what Sew Your Stash is all about, it is a challenge that I started. I challenged myself and then I extended the challenge to my viewers to try to focus this year on using up our stashes, our fabric stash, yarn stash, whatever kind of stash you have, as well as finishing some works in progress. And it has really been a lot of fun trying to use different materials and things that I've been hanging on to way too long. And there's also a Facebook group about it, and there has been so many people joining and posting and sharing inspiration. And if you haven't checked out the group already, you definitely should. There's a link down below in the description box. And so today I'm going to show you all of the progress that I have made since my last update video, and there has been a ton of progress. I cannot wait to show you all of the projects that I have finished and have been working on. So let's get right into it. The first finished project is a huge win for me. It is actually my very first quilt project that I ever started when I was 14 years old. Now I'm 30, so the fact that I am just now finishing it is probably just shows you how much I procrastinate, but I am very excited to finish it. I have not even cut the threads off yet, but this is a quilt that I made. I started when I was 14. My mom was making a log cabin style quilt out of plaid shirts that we had picked up at thrift stores, and I just thought it was really cool. I wanted to, you know, make a project as well while she was, and so she let me have some of her scraps and things from her quilt, and I got started on a little bitty sewing machine that I have called a Sew Cute. Now that sewing machine did not actually backstitch or anything, and it was a foundation paper pieced string quilt, which means that I was sewing onto paper and then I tore the paper away after that. And when I did that, since there was no back stitching, a lot of pieces ended up being really fragile and falling apart, and I also did not understand seam allowances at the time. So a lot of my seam allowances were far too small and they frayed over the years from just being handled and stuff, and so it's in pretty bad shape already even though it's just finished. So I did have to do a lot of repairs. There's a lot of really like wacky looking stitching because I just wanted to get done, so I just did some really crazy zigzags and stuff to patch up the repairs. But I got the binding finally put on. That was all it was lacking, and so now it is done. I actually have a video that I did years ago all about this quilt that I will link to, and at that point I still just had to do the binding, so I finally added the binding on and I'm very happy with it, and I'm finally able to say that my very first ever quilt project that I worked on is complete. And now what's funny is I've finished quilt projects since then, but you know, huge victory. 16 years in the making. The next project is another quilt that finally got finished, and this is the quilt that I started when I was pregnant with Skylar, and I used Crafty Gemini's 10-inch slicer ruler on this, and it's a really cute quilt. And the way this one finally got done is I actually sent it home with my mom. My mom came to visit a while back, and she quilts and things too. So I was like, hey Mom, I don't think I'm ever going to get this quilt finished. Will you finish it for me? And she did. She did the quilting on it and then did the binding. And it turned out really cute. She just did straight line quilting along the diagonals with the design that are randomly spaced, and I think it turned out really good. So yep. So my mom finished up that one for me, but it still counts because it was one of my works in progress, and it is now complete. Then the next project is another quilt. I did a lot of quilting in the past month or two, and this one is not completely finished, but it is a project that I started, can't remember if it was 3.5 or 4.5 years ago. It was like the 6th picture I ever posted on Instagram was of this project. And it is also foundation paper piecing, and it was done in triangles. So like here is one of them, and then there is another one. I had cut out all the triangles and everything and made like 12 or 16 or something of them, and then just set this project aside for years and never got back to it. And so I just pulled it out. I finished the other like 2/3 of the triangles and then sewed them together, and it's not perfect, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. Yay. It's nice and colorful. It's a fun design. It's inspired by one that I saw in a book, but I ended up drafting my own pattern and everything for it instead of copying the one out of the book. But I really like it, and I did actually purchase a few fabrics this month because my goal was to go as long as I could without purchasing fabrics, but I did need to purchase. I definitely knew I wanted a green border, and I didn't have enough left, so I bought this green fabric. I also bought a white fabric for another project, and then a text print that I'll be showing here in a second on a different project. And these are just some fabrics that I knew I specifically needed for projects, and it was going to help me get them finished. So I figured it was a good idea to go ahead and buy them so I could finish these projects that I've had going on. So yeah, my goal is to get this one backed and quilted and finished up. Probably before the end of the year is my goal. I'm not in a super rush on it because I don't, like this one is for Skylar, but this one isn't really for anyone. I just want to go ahead and get it finished in a somewhat timely manner. So, and then the next quilt that I started is the wonky 9-patch one, and I did a video on this. So I will link to that tutorial if you haven't seen it already, but it's really a really fun design, and it can be, like, mine's not that wonky, but depending on how you make your cuts and everything, you can really make it an interesting print or an interesting design, and it's a lot of fun to do. It's a quick project to make, and yeah, I'm gonna have hopefully another video coming up relatively soon on adding sashing and borders and all that for that quilt. And then I really did a lot of quilts. I have 2 other quilts that I started since my last video, my last update. The first one is this design. I know it looks kind of crazy. This is a fussy cut log cabin design that I started because I had a fat quarter that had some really cute princess prints. So I fussy cut them out and then added the logs, basically, of varying sizes in the assigned colors. And I really like how it is turning out. And as you can see, I've already designed the color layout that I'm going to be doing. So I'm going off my chart here when I make each block to know that it's going to fit exactly where it's supposed to in the finished quilt. And let me know if you want a video on this particular project. I haven't filmed any of it yet, but I've only finished 3 blocks so far out of 12, I think, that I'll be doing. So I definitely can film something on this if you all are interested in it. So let me know in the comments down below. So I have one more quilt to talk about, but I think I'm going to show that at the end. So in between the projects I've already showed you and the final quilt, I worked on some non-quilt projects, actually. One of them is an art smock. I made this for Peyton, and I think it turned out so fun. I actually used this pattern right here that I got at a thrift store. It's for a dress and bloomers, but instead of making it a dress, I just made it a smock. I used this style right here, but I didn't add the trim at all. And it's just a really fun way to use patterns for something that they're not necessarily intended for. So instead of just regular fabric, I used a wipeable fabric, like a laminated cotton or a vinyl or something like that. I chose just a wipeable fabric for the outer, and technically it's reversible, but I don't think we'll ever use it as a reversible smock. So this is just the lining, basically, and it's just some cotton that I had gotten at the thrift store last year. I got like 14 yards for like $3.50 or something like that. So I have a ton of it that I paid hardly any money for. And then instead of buttons or anything, I used snaps at the top, and I put 2 of them so that it can be adjusted as Peyton grows. So that is just a fun little smock because Peyton loves to paint, and this will just help keep her clothes a little cleaner. I also made some dresses for Peyton that I already did a tutorial on. It's the Willow Dress, and the first one I made just using regular fabric, and it was a Wonder Woman inspired dress, and it turned out super, super cute, and I loved it so much that I decided to make a second one using some upcycled materials. For the top, I used a plaid that was left over from a curtain that I had already turned into skirts for me and Peyton, and then the bottom was a pearl snap shirt that I had in my stash for a while. I actually used to wear this shirt when I was a few sizes smaller, and I had saved it because it was just a fun print, and so I cut off like just under the armpit area of the shirt and gathered it and used that for the lower portion of the dress, and it is so stinking cute. Peyton has gotten so many compliments on her dresses when she's worn them out, and they just turned out so cute. And definitely check out the tutorial on the Willow dress if you haven't already. I also did 2 related projects. I did my double pocket lined zipper bag and then my double pocket crossbody bag. They are very similar projects, but one is just a regular bag, and then one is of course the crossbody bag that has the attachable strap. And these are both inspired by my 5-minute zipper bag video that I did years ago. And they just turned out so fun, and I really, really love them. They are fantastic for making for gifts or for just travel bags if you have some things that you need to keep separated in your suitcase. And yeah, so there's tutorials for both of those already on my channel. Okay, so the last project that I have to mention is one of my favorites, so that's why I saved it for last, and it is a quilt that I'm making for my husband. I had showed some fabrics in a Sew Your Stash update like 2 updates ago, where I had mentioned I had found some fabric in my sewing room that I had completely forgotten that I even owned. So I actually ended up trading some of that fabric with one of my viewers for some Star Wars prints, and when I traded, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with the Star Wars fabric. I just knew I needed it because my husband loves Star Wars, and I wanted to get it and make something for him. So I finally decided I wanted to make him a quilt, and I showed him the design I had in mind, and he really liked it. So that is what I have been working on. And it is this fun quilt design. This is inspired by the Quilts for Baby design. It's out of a book. I think the book is called Patchwork Please. I think that's what it's called. But I actually changed it, redrew it. I made it larger because the one in the book finishes at 7 1/4 inches, I believe. So I scaled it up and made the actual book part just a little bit bigger. And mine finishes at, I think it's 8 inches. And I also added the extra bit right here, this blue part, to be the back cover because I felt like it just made it look more like a book. Whereas previously it just has the little pages sticking up and doesn't have this blue bit around it. And I just really like the changes. There was someone on Instagram, just one person, who had made a similar adjustment, and I really liked it and drew inspiration from that, and I absolutely love how my version of the pattern turned out. So if you do check out the original pattern, just know it won't be exactly like this, but it is similar. But this is one that I redrew myself. Actually, here's what the pattern that I drew looks like. Here's another of the blocks. And there's one. And as you can see, I'm fussy cutting the designs. This design is actually printed on a diagonal like this, but I fussy cut it so that it would be perfect for the book cover. And there's that one. That one. And that one. I actually have, let's see, so 6 of them done. I have 6 more of the centers fussy cut out already, and fabrics selected for them, but I haven't sewn them together. I'm doing 25 blocks total, and then I'm going to add sashing and borders and everything so that it finishes about a lap quilt size. And I am absolutely thrilled with how it's turning out. As I mentioned earlier, where I did go purchase some fabrics, the fabric I purchased is this little bit right here. And I got it at Joann's. It is just, let me see if I can reach it. Yeah. Okay. It is this fabric right here. And the text is actually about different like floral things or something like that. But since I'm using it in such small sections, you can't really tell that once it's sewn in. But I knew I wanted to use the same fabric for every single block to represent the pages. And I wanted it to be something that had text. And this is the only fabric I could find locally that had text printed on it that was the right scale, and I needed it like that day because I was ready to start in. So this is what I got, and it works. It was on, I think it was on clearance actually at Joann's. I just happened to find it in the clearance section. So that's what I got, and it worked out perfectly. And so I think that is it for everything for this Sew Your Stash update. It has been a lot of stuff. I felt like I was just plowing through, getting projects finished and getting just so much done and accomplished, and it felt so, so good. Now I have some other projects planned, but I'm not sure the timeline that everything's going to get done. I have some things coming up that might possibly delay a few videos. But yeah, so make sure you are subscribed, and also click that little bell notification next to the subscription box so that if my videos do end up being on a slightly different schedule than normal, then you will get notified for sure every time a new video does go up. But yeah, I am super excited about what I've been working on. Let me know in the comments down below what projects you have been working on. Have you had any like major victories lately like I have with finishing these quilts up? I definitely want to hear about them. If you want to see all of my other Sew Your Stash videos, then definitely check out the playlist of them that is linked right over here. Below that, I will have a playlist of videos that are projects perfect for using up your scraps, because I know with Sewing Your Stash, you usually end up with a lot of scraps left over. And then I will see you all again soon with another new video. Bye!